Hi, Shavua Tov. As we are in the month of Kislev and Hanukkah approaches, we become more and more aware of miracles. Hanukkah is all about publicizing the miracles of Hanukkah, of the victory against the Greeks, and of course of the oil that lasted for 8 days. But miracles are really all around us, and the only question is, do we see them? Not only miracles, also angels. Yaakov is about to confront his brother Esav. He's very scared of this encounter because Esav has expressed murderous intent towards Yaakov, which is what caused him to flee in the first place. And it doesn't seem to be abating. So what does Yaakov do? He sends messengers to Esav. But who were these messengers? The Torah uses the word malachim, which means angels. Now, according to Onkelos, who is the Talmudic period Mishnaic period translator of the Torah into Aramaic, the word malachim here means izgadaya, which means basically messengers, human messengers. Which is interesting because later on Jacob will be up all night long struggling with what the Torah calls an ish, a man, but he clearly is an angel from the context of the story. So there the angel is called ish, and here the anashim, the people, are called malachim. So that seems to be kind of backwards. But that's the approach if we take that of Onkelos. But Rashi says that Yaakov actually sent angels to Esav. Real, true blue, honest to goodness angels. And this makes sense as much as it is a surprising and impressive feat. It makes sense because we read just before, at the end of last week's Parsha, that after Yaakov went away, separated from Lavan, when Lavan went back to his place, Yaakov immediately sees a camp of God with angels, and he calls the place Machanaim. So it seems that some of those angels, Yaakov must have said, hey guys, I got a job for you to do. Please go to Esav. And so those were the angels he sent. The Oznaim LaTorah of Zalman Sorotskin, he claims that it makes perfect sense that Yaakov sent angels because who else would want to go on this mission? To tell Esav that Yaakov, whom Esav hates with every fiber of his being, is about to approach. Who would want to do that? Nobody. So the only beings available were the angels. It's reminiscent of Obadiah, who was a servant of King Achav in the northern kingdom. And King Achav hated Elijah the prophet. And one day Elijah shows up and says to Obadiah, Achav's servant, please go tell your master that here I am. And Obadiah says, what are you trying to get me killed? I'm going to go tell Achav that you're there, and then you're going to fly off to who knows where, and I'm going to be killed. Because you know that Achav doesn't really like you. So it's the same kind of a thing. You know, we have the idea of shooting the messenger, which we learn, I believe, from the story of Marathon. They have a race called a marathon, and that race is the same distance as the city of Marathon was from Athens. In the classical time, the Athenian army was defeated at Marathon, and the runner came back to tell the people of Athens that they had lost the war. So they killed the messenger. And there is a psychological truth, because very often people do take out their anger on the messenger. A number of years ago, there were a couple of deadly tornadoes in the Midwest somewhere, and the weather forecasters on the television stations were receiving death threats because of the tornadoes, as if they caused it. Of course, they didn't cause it, but they were the messenger, and so there is that. So therefore, no human person to be redundant, was prepared to go and make that delivery of information to Esav. So Yaakov had to send angels, but he sends angels, and they go. And not only does he send them, he sends them with a little bit of, self-assertion. Vayetzavatim, he commands them to go. Yaakov is commanding angels to go. Wow, how did he get so chummy with angels? So Rav Moshe Feinstein, the great posek, the great halachic decider of the previous generation, he has a nice and a long explanation on this, and he talks about miracles. There are two types of miracles. There are the open, revealed miracles like the splitting of the sea, things that are beyond the normal experience of people. And then you have the hidden miracles, the things that happen every day, and they are miracles even though we don't necessarily sense it. Rav Moshe says that for people that need the big miracles, they are a demerit. because it shows that their faith is really not so strong, and they need these big, grandiose demonstrations of God's mastery over the world in order to convince them to believe. Indeed, the righteous people in tzaddikim don't want these kinds of miracles. They stay away from these kinds of miracles. Even Yaakov himself, even though he is sending angels, he is still preparing not to have a miraculous deliverance from his brother Esav, but he's preparing to either bribe him with a tremendous gift, which he does, and eventually that tactic succeeds, or to fight if necessary. And of course, with whatever he does, he's going to pray that God grant him success. So Yaakov is not planning on any miracles. He's planning on doing it based on the way things work in this world. But he does send angels, which is very, very interesting. So the higher level miracle is the one that we don't see, the one that's part of regular nature. The Talmud tells us a beautiful story about the daughter of Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa, who was preparing to light candles, and she made a mistake. Instead of pouring oil into the jug, she poured vinegar, and she was very upset. I wasted this vinegar and I won't be able to light the candles now. And her father consoled her and said, No, the same God who said to the oil, oil you shall ignite and be able to bring light and fire, can also say to vinegar, you also light up and bring fire. And so it was. Says Rav Moshe Feinstein, what do we see from this? That the fact that oil burns is no less miraculous than the fact that vinegar burns. It's just that in the case of oil, we're used to it because that's the nature of the world that we have become accustomed to. But vinegar can burn just as well, only that's a above nature kind of a miracle. That's a special kind of a miracle. But really, even the average everyday occurrences are miraculous. Indeed, the rabbis say that each blade of grass has its guardian angel that says to it, grow, grow. So even nature is filled with miracles. And this is the greatness of Yaakov. Yaakov, he saw people and he saw angels. And they were, in his mind, the same. He could equally send people, like Onkelos said, or he could send angels, like Rashi says, because Yaakov sensed, and he therefore had no diminution of his stature by being involved with angels because he saw the miracles in regular nature as well. The only one who loses by the overt miracle is the one who doesn't see the miracle in that which is normal and that which is natural and accepted and regular. Yaakov had no such problem with this. He saw everything as miraculous. So for him, angels and people are perfectly fine. And this level of faith compelled him to take action. When you think about it, Yaakov was in a very tough situation. He just left Lavan, who had tried to cheat him out of everything, and now he's going to confront Esav, who wants to kill him out of everything, so to speak. And yet Yaakov proceeds forward. Indeed, there is a midrash that says that Yaakov could have easily gone someplace else and still been in the land of Israel. It's a small country, but it's not that small. He could have gone up to Shechem, and Esav was further south, and therefore Esav would have never encountered him. But no, Yaakov, because of his faith, he knew that this had to be brought to a head. This struggle has to be resolved. He must proceed forward, and so he did so. And that is what this faith gives us. It gives us the faith to proceed forward and to do what we know that we need to do. And even though we may be afraid, as Yaakov was, we will struggle with those angels, and we will prevail with those angels as Yaakov did, and as Yaakov will become Yisrael, which means you have struggled with God and with man and have prevailed. About seeing angels, I wish to mention at this point that a week ago, the great Rabbi Meyer Fendel, who was my teacher and the founder of the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County and other very important Torah institutions, passed away. And I want to talk about him for a few moments because he was also somebody who saw the angel in everybody. This man came to an area in the 1950s of Long Island, which was a spiritual desert. There really wasn't any Torah Judaism to speak of there. There were little pockets, but it was very weak. And he came to a town called West Hempstead, and there in West Hempstead, he built a school, which he called the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County. He wrote a beautiful memoir about all those years, which he calls 9 Men Wanted for a Minyan. I think that's the title of the book, which really encapsulates it. Now, when I grew up, A couple of decades later, Long Island wasn't such a desert in spirituality. In our town, there was an Orthodox shul, and in the neighboring towns, there were Orthodox shuls. And of course, the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County already had 3 campuses, all of them founded by Rabbi Fendel. But at the beginning, it wasn't that way. But he was somebody who saw the angel in everyone and knew that he had to do what had to be done. And I know that he saw the angel in everybody because I remember the day when I interviewed to come to the school in 9th grade. I had come from a conservative elementary and junior high school, and therefore my Hebrew was good, but my Mishnah and Gemara really wasn't, and I was behind, and I went in with a certain insecurity. Will I be able to get into this school? And will they pay any respect to me? I'm coming from a conservative school. I don't know. These Orthodox, maybe they're very, picky and look down at others. So I walked into his office, and I quickly discovered that I was the most unique and special student in the world. And it wasn't just me. Every single student who talked to Rabbi Fendel and encountered him got the same feeling because Rabbi Fendel really believed it. And he saw the angels in everybody's soul. And so therefore in this period of miracles, we have to realize there are the big miracles that we can see, that splitting of the sea and those sort of things. And then there are the other miracles that happen according to the rules of nature, but they are no less miraculous, whether it be the astounding successes of our soldiers that are so brave and are doing so much, whether it be just life itself. And the angels, these are everybody that surround us, everybody that enhance and bring beauty and value to our lives. These are all angels. The more angels we see, the more miracles we see, the more angels and miracles there will be. Shavua Tov.